With a dream, not Martin Luther King Jr., but a different guy, and his dream is to create this master perfect race, and he is obsessed with this dream. So when he starts off, he's pretty dedicated, and he starts off by killing genetically defective infants. He then moves on to start killing genetically defective adults, and finally ethnic cleansing. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, the guy is named, well, he was Adolf Hitler. And we're actually much closer to creating this master race scientifically than he ever was in reality. Now, I'm not going to tell you that all genetic information is bad. Like biotechnology talks, or American Human Journal of Genetics talks about how we can take genes from people and literally look to see if they have a genetic disease before it comes out. We can look at a criminal's DNA by Science magazine and literally see what they look like sometimes, eye color, hair color, that type of thing. Or how biochemistry says we can examine how HIV replicates and use that to treat the disease. But I'm talking about engineering. So I have some pictures from Dr. Gallagher, and this is genetic engineering. We have tomatoes that don't rot. We have fish that glow. These did not glow until we messed with them. These salmon grow 3 times as fast. My personal favorite is what I call the fish strawberry, and I call it that because it is a strawberry that secretes codfish oil so that it doesn't freeze. And we can do all of these things in animals, and people wonder, can we do it in humans? And the answer is yes. Now, right now, the reason scientists want to do this is because of a view that they have called genetic determinism. That basically is the belief that everything is determined by our genes, our behavior, our intelligence. If we're a criminal or a doctor or a lawyer or anything, it's all determined by our genes. One scientist named Kate Barbara Rothman said that whatever the question, genetics is the answer. Scientists have actually even lied about this. Stephen Jay Gould, in his book Mismeasure of Man, talked about how they have changed identical twins' IQ scores to support this view. But this leads, what they've talked about, now that I've told you about genetic engineering, what people think it might lead to is this. Obviously, we might have racism. Harold Green, in the book Future Perfect, says that we might have one day restricted marriages or forced abortions if we think that a child might have a genetic disease before it's born. There could be sexism, genetic discrimination. Paul Myers said that, quote, discrimination will take on a whole new form. Rather than skin color, ethnicity, or education, it will be based on genetics. He also said regarding people who don't support this, that we will be deemed a bunch of idiots in his book, Blue Jeans. Now, remember that because I'm going to come back and show you just how true that is. And this bottom one, infanticide, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is the slaughter of infants, and there are people pushing for this right now. There's a man named Peter Singer who gives the analogy of a hemophiliac baby and says that because that baby is genetically defective, that we can simply dispose of it. It's his words, replaceable. He also said this. He said, by 2040, it may be that only a rump of hardcore, know-nothing religious fundamentalists will view that every human life from conception to death is sacrosanct. Basically, if you don't support his view, you're an idiot, as Paul Myers said. Now, people are pushing for this, and their way of doing it, there's an article in Science Direct, is basically, he says that we need to have a shift of values and stop caring about individuals. Care about society as a whole. And, one hemophiliac baby, one genetically defective person, as long as it's for the good of society, people will move towards genetic engineering. Now, you can look at this list and say, well, government's using humans for military purposes or infanticide. We're really far away from that. This is going back to Hitler. This is probably not going to happen. And I would say that we're a lot closer to this than you think, because the truth is that's where we might be headed, but this is where we are. The truth is we do have racism right now. Researchers are proven to be biased towards people of their own race, gender, ethnicity, things of that sort. And there's an example of this, like the bell curve right now. scientific hypothesis made by white people says that white people are genetically smarter than black people. As far as I'm aware, as far as I can find, there is no research to back this up. It's just a hypothesis that they start off assuming. There is sexism. Right now, people are experimenting on women without even telling them. A good example, 76 women were given a placebo birth control pill as an experiment without even being told that it was placebo. If you don't know what that is, fake birth control, not even telling the women. We have forced sterilization right now today. There is a court ruling called Buck versus Bell that says that if someone is mentally defective and it could be inherited, that they can force sterilize them. They did this to a woman named Carrie Buck. She was considered promiscuous, therefore mentally unstable, because she was pregnant before marriage. She was pregnant before marriage because she was raped. And they sterilized her in the name of cleaning our gene pool. The judge said this: "It is better for all the world if, instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifest